He's wrapped up by Lang. The puck in the left corner for Iginla. Iginla to the left circle. Iginla shot. Joseph save. Rebound. He scores! Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby! Martin Gelinas scores! The Flames win it! 1-0! Yeah, baby!
Early on in the 2014-2015 season, the Calgary Flames honored their Hall of Fame broadcaster, Peter Maher. Maher was the voice of the Flames for 34 years before hanging up the headset. From his early days in New Brunswick, Maher had a passion for sports, and specifically, play-by-play.
Well, it was almost as though broadcasting was something that was on my mind when I was very, very young. And I think when I was 9, 10, or 11, somewhere in there, we'd have table hockey games in our house, and I'd do a play-by-play of the games, and we'd play outdoor hockey, and a lot of times I'd be the goalie, so I'd be doing a play-by-play of that. And I remember at one point my mother saying to me, "You're going to be a broadcaster," no doubt in my mind.
Maher made good on his mother's prediction and started down the path that took him to the top. His career saw him call 3 Stanley Cup Finals and Sidney Crosby's golden goal at the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver. The path to the top requires hard work, dedication, and most importantly, passion.
It really took hold in 1970 when in my hometown I became the play-by-play broadcaster for 2 teams that were separated by 16 miles, and I'd be the voice for both of them, and it was an interesting challenge, and given the fact that they were bitter rivals, both of the teams, but I was the guy that was broadcasting because our radio station served both of those communities. But that's how it started, and it was fortunate for me that I started in the 70s because that's when hockey was at its peak in my hometown. That gave me a lot of games, and I'm a firm believer that for a broadcaster, especially with hockey and probably for every other sport, the more you can do early on in your career, the better it's going to make you as a broadcaster.
In front looking for Klimchuk off a stick high in the air. Burrows gloves it down for the Pats. Side of the net for Steele. In front, Klimchuk shoots and he scores. Morgan Klimchuk gets the Pats on the board with 13:18 left in the third.
26-year-old Phil Andrews has a passion for play-by-play. Andrews has been the voice of the Western Hockey League's Regina Pats for 4 years.
I just love coming to the rink every day, watching practice and being able to prepare for games and really getting to know the people involved. It's very much a kind of a family atmosphere, I think, especially within a team, because you spend every day together. I mean, it's almost more time with the players and the coaches than with my own family most of the time. So yeah, that keeps me going and just loving what I do. I mean, it's fun to come to the rink and call hockey games. I'm doing what I love. So yeah, that definitely is the driving force.
Andrews is very happy in his position with the Pats, but has acknowledged that he would like to call pro games. Early on in his career, Andrews has had to grind it out, and that hard work has gotten him to where he is today. But Andrews knows the path to the top requires even more of a grind.
Nobody starts at the Fan 960 in Calgary or wherever in their first job as, the guy. I mean, you got to start somewhere small and work, and that's really what it comes down to. Put your time in and hope for that break, because a lot of times it just takes being in that right place at the right time or knowing the right people to get that chance to prove yourself in a job in a bigger market. You got to prove yourself and work 14 hours in a day. Don't take a day off for 2 months. And that's what happens in junior hockey. I mean, you're working every weekend, and you know what? You just work. And at the same time, it's not a hard thing to do because I'm doing what I love, and I think for the most part, people like what they do. So it's not a terrible thing to have to work for a month straight. But I mean, that's the biggest thing, I think, is to put the work in, put the time in, prepare for what you're doing, and you'll get there.
When I left home, when I left home first, I left home before I started doing radio play-by-play. I moved to Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I worked at a radio station there and a newspaper. I was also involved in newspaper writing at a very young age also. And then I went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and did some writing and some broadcasting. There were the comments of the International Hockey League. But when I moved away for good, was back in 1977. And as I look back on it now, it's all so surreal. One minute I'm broadcasting in a town of 7,000 people, and the next minute I'm broadcasting in a greater Toronto metropolitan area of 7 million people.
You apply for a any job that you can get basically out of school, and I go to this small town in Kindersley, like 3,500 people, and 2 little tiny radio stations, and all broad spectrum of music, and you do kind of everything, right? You're doing news, you're doing sports, you're being a DJ, and you kind of get to do everything in kind of the radio broadcast industry, and so that's where I started, and it kind of grew from there. And got a chance to do weekend sports and weekend news and some stuff during the week in Regina with 620 CKRM, and that kind of started, and then I kind of was in the right place at the right time when the play-by-play guy for the Pats 4 years ago quit and got a job somewhere else, and I kind of slid in there halfway through the season, and it's now my 4th season.
He'll pick it up in the corner and play it right point to Hoodler. Hoodler will throw it to the net. Gaudreau, a backhand shot, bouncing puck. They score!
Growing and getting better is important for any industry, but it is vital for sports broadcasting. And Derek Wills can attest to that.
With 5 seconds remaining in regulation.
Wills is new to Calgary and comes as Peter Marr's successor, the new radio play-by-play voice of the Calgary Flames. Wills brings 13 years experience calling the American Hockey League's Hamilton Bulldogs, an affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens.
When I got the job with the Hamilton Bulldogs, I was 24 years old. I was the youngest broadcaster in the American Hockey League. Truth be told, I was really green, and I probably wasn't ready to jump from covering Junior B hockey and Junior A lacrosse to covering the 2nd best league in the world. But I made it work. I didn't think I was going to get through that first year. I was the youngest broadcaster in the AHL at the time. There were probably a bunch of other guys covering major junior hockey that would have done a better job than I did in my first year.
I came here to,
The Calgary Flames was the 3rd play-by-play job in the NHL that Wills applied for. Back in 2010, he was a finalist for the Edmonton Oilers radio job, but the rejection did not bother him too much. However, in 2011, Wills was convinced that he was the guy to take the Montreal Canadiens job.
I was heartbroken when I didn't get the Canadiens job. I had been the voice of their American Hockey League affiliate for a decade, and I read all the newspaper articles, I read all of the online blogs, and everybody basically said I was the guy. When I didn't get the job, I was quite frankly embarrassed. I was embarrassed that after 10 years with the Hamilton Bulldogs that I didn't get that call, like so many coaches and players in the organization had up to the Montreal Canadiens. So for about 2 weeks I was really mad and hurt, and I had to look myself in the mirror and say, okay, why didn't you get this job? And the bottom line was I wasn't good enough. If I had been better, they would have hired me. So it was a wake-up call for me. I have at times in my career been a little too over the top. So I ended up meeting with the guy who made the decision and decided not to hire me, and I asked him why he didn't hire me, and he told me to turn down the volume 20%. And he gave me some great advice, and it was tough to hear, but it, I think, helped me get this job. And when I didn't get the Montreal Canadiens job, everybody said, everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why you didn't get this job. And at the time I thought, whatever, they're just saying that to make me feel better. I don't believe what they're saying. I don't believe that's true. This was the job that I was supposed to have. But at the end of the day, it wasn't. This job here in Calgary, calling Flames games, was the job that I was supposed to have. And I think I needed those extra 3 years in the American Hockey League.
Left circle, passing to Yell, a shot, save made by All again, rebound, another shot, they score! The Flames win it! Yeah, baby! Overtime, 3-2.
When I got the job in Toronto, they told me that they had over 200 applicants for the job. So I was very fortunate to be selected out of that many people that applied for the position. Now I'm also told that in more recent times, when there have been some jobs open, that they've had over 300, 400 people that applied for the position. So I guess that it's pretty much double the interest that there would be in wanting to have a job in the NHL. I feel so very fortunate. Like I said, when I started, 21 teams in the NHL, so there were only 21 radio play-by-play jobs, and I was fortunate to have one of them. And you know, over all the years now, there's 30 teams in the NHL. So very, very fortunate to be one of 30 play-by-play guys up until the end of my career. And of course, there's a bunch more positions in television as well that are out there. But there's not a lot of jobs out there, and there's a lot of people that would love to have the job that I had.
Someday be thought of.
For Wills, it was his willingness to improve and work ethic that got him to where he is today.
I don't think I'm the most talented broadcaster in the world, but I have a really strong work ethic. No one's going to out-prepare me. I probably only use about 5% of the material that I prepare for a game, but I never know what 5% I'm going to need, so I have to prepare 100% of it. So it's tough, but I believe that if you're passionate, and that's the number one thing for me, passion. If I meet someone who's passionate, then I have a strong belief that they're going to make it. I think you need to have some talent, and I think I do have some talent, but I think my passion for the game of hockey, and even more so for calling the game of hockey, is what has helped me get to the National Hockey League level.
I'm really fired up for this one, Derek. The Trojans are gunning for a 7-0 record right now. Ridercrest is just looking to get in the win column there.
One of the industry's aspiring broadcasters provides commentary at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, where she is studying radio, television, and broadcast news. Cami Kepke does play-by-play for the State Trojans and also works with the local Junior A team, the Calgary Canucks.
I've always been hugely into sports. Hockey was always really special for me because my parents didn't have the time to get me to all the tournaments and we couldn't afford it growing up. So getting into doing the play-by-play in color was my way of staying in touch with the game. I fill in for the Canucks. I do a lot of things with them. I run their Twitter, I do their game recaps, their media releases, and their PA announcing when necessary. So basically, I do anything I have to there. I've gone on a couple road trips with them to the thriving metropolis of Grand Prairie, Whitecourt, all that good stuff. I did reach out to Hockey Alberta last year about commentating the Alberta Cup. So I got to do, I think it was 5 games there, doing color and play-by-play, and that was an absolute blast.
The 19-year-old Kepke has taken advantage of every opportunity that comes her way. She is also trying to gain all the knowledge she can from people in the industry.
I go up to Dawson Creek to do my practicum in February, and they want to give me a lot of experience anchoring sports and doing the weather. But I also work quite a bit with Hockey Canada, so kind of torn between 2 paths. I plan on trying to go to a small market and just do the news there, but get as much experience as I can in sports, pay my dues, and then one day I do want to get to TSN, do the Sports Center. I actually had a great chance to talk to Lisa Bowes last year, and she gave me a lot of insight on what it was going to be like trying to break into this as a girl. And the same with Kate Burness and Dutchie. I got to hang out with them a few years ago. They came through Creston for the celebration tour, and they came into the restaurant where I was working and just invited me to come hang out afterward, and I got a lot of insight. Kate told me about toiling away for free basically at those local stations, just paying your dues and getting ready to go when your time comes.
Knowing the journey to the top will likely be arduous and lengthy, Kepke said she isn't deterred for what lies ahead.
I'll do everything I can. My whole life since I was 15 has basically revolved around doing sports, so I have no issue giving up my weekends, going traveling. This isn't paid. I've actually never had a hockey job where I was paid, and I do lots.
The journey to the top is unique for everybody, but to get there, broadcasters have common traits, such as dedication, a strong work ethic, and a bit of advice from the Hall of Famer.
I think the biggest thing is focus. When the game is on, I'm talking about. Well, first of all, there's the lead up to the game and the preparation, and you can never be too prepared for a game. There's 2 things that I note about a play-by-play broadcaster on radio. You can never be too well prepared, and you can never say the score enough.
Brody to Giordano, and he scores! The captain, Mark Giordano, fires a laser beam right into the roof of the Coyotes' net, and the Flames are back out in front, 4-3.
It's tough. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I can sugarcoat it and say that it's easy to break in, but I think the hardest thing to do is to get your foot in the door at each level.
Zajac will pick up the puck at the red line and come in wide left. Walks to the net slowly. He dekes, he shoots, and he's stopped by Ramo. And the Findaway Flames come from behind in miraculous fashion, trailing by 2 with less than 3 minutes remaining in regulation time. They scored 2 to tie.
I remember when I was in my late teens and early 20s, and all of my friends were getting full-time jobs and making what I thought at the time was a lot of money. I was volunteering for a community television station, and then I started my own business, which didn't make any money. It ended up costing me money, and it was tough at the time because my friends had all this money, they're going out and they're buying cars and having a great time, and I'm struggling to get by, and without the help of my dad and my grandma, I wouldn't have been able to get by financially. So I think what separated me from a lot of people was the fact that I was willing to make those sacrifices, and I had a long-term goal in mind, that I wanted to get to the National Hockey League. And I knew it pretty early in life that that's what I wanted to do. As soon as I started doing play-by-play, I said my goal is to get to the NHL. So I was willing to make those sacrifices and use whatever talent I have, along with some work ethic to get to this level. But it's tough. So for those trying to break into the industry, be passionate, be willing to pay your dues, be willing to work hard, and if you've got a little bit of talent, you'll probably eventually get there.
There'll be times where I'll probably be pretty moody about it and question myself whether it's worth it. Will I stay with just lower junior teams, college teams? In the end, that's okay. No matter where my career takes me, I know that I'll always have an involvement with hockey.
You know, I'd like to call hockey games in a rink like this in the National Hockey League, I think, one day, but I'm very happy where I am. You know, you look at guys like Bob Ridley in the league that have been doing it for 40 years and called every game in Tigers history. You know, I'd be okay with that. You know, I have my dream job now, I feel.
I always felt my whole job was to be the eyes for the fan, being the play-by-play guy, and that the stars are the people that play the game on the ice. When the Flames had the night for me on November 18th, I was, you know, when they first started talking about it, I said, "You sure you want to do this? Because this is not something that I feel comfortable with and I don't feel I'm worthy of." I'm kind of overwhelmed by all of that, and because I just feel that, you know, I was merely the messenger. And but the fact that I was able to do it for so long and it's something that I really feel blessed that I had the opportunity to do that.
You can put it in the win column! Yeah!